Do what you can. When you can. Do it. Do what you can. When you can. Do it.
Good Friday morning, everyone. This is Tony Falzone, a motivated medic. Today we're going to be talking about Jocko Willink and how discipline equals freedom. So sit back and get ready for another episode. Hey guys, this is Tony Falzone, a motivated medic. Good Friday morning. This is the newest podcast episode on the Motivated Medic. So thank you for listening. Want to do a couple shout-outs before we get into things. Shout out to Flikr Fireplaces. If you saw my Facebook post this morning, you saw a little, concrete cylindrical object that had a bit of fire in the center of it. That is a Flikr Fireplace. My really good friends Travis and Haley Sierra own, and they're the creators and founders of Flikr Fireplace. Please check them out. I will have the link in the show notes, flikrfireplace.com. It's just an awesome invention. It's great, especially if you don't have a fireplace in your house. So flikrfireplace.com. I also want to give a special thanks to all the new subscribers lately, especially our 700th subscriber, Mr. Bruce Baker. Bruce, I spoke to him actually on Facebook a little bit ago, and just a really cool guy. I actually was supposed to work with him at Burning Man, and because of my orientation and everything, just wasn't able to go. So that was kind of cool. It's a small world, but Bruce is a paramedic out in Nevada, and just really cool guy. So Bruce, thank you very much for subscribing, being a follower of the Motivated Medic on Facebook. And if you haven't checked us out and you're listening to this podcast, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn, so all of those platforms. I also want to note some people that I'm collaborating with on social media. Well, more than just social media, but you'll find them on social media. Obviously, my brother from another mother, well, both of these guys for that matter, Daniel Mills with the 911 Buddy Check Project, and also Mr. James Boomhower of Fit for Duty. If you haven't checked them out, please do so. They are more in tune as far as their reach with mental health and doing things of that nature, but we all are on the same mission to help you improve where you're at mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and so you can be better where you're at, be more effective where you are at. And you may not necessarily need to know about more tools, which, I think that's getting into complacency there. There's always something to learn. But the fact of the matter is you may have all the tools to do what you're doing, but you may need a little nudge or reminder. So these guys are right along those lines with helping you do that as well. So please check them out, 911 Buddy Check Project and Fit for Duty. So you're probably thinking about what today's podcast is about. And if you are familiar with Jocko Willink and have listened to his podcast or seen his videos, then the discipline equals freedom should not be a new concept to you. And this podcast is truly inspired by Jocko. I'm a huge follower. If you have not heard of Jocko, please check him out, Jocko Willink. He has a YouTube channel, podcast. He does speaking engagements. He did one in New York last night. So please check out Jocko. And if you are nearby to go to one of those events, do it. Do not miss that. That's something I'm hoping to do within the next 12 months, is to actually get to one of his events, and that's kind of a bucket list item, if you will. But check out Jocko Willink, and he's the one that's actually inspiring this podcast. I'll also be putting his information in the show notes, so you can scroll down and click on those links and check out Jocko Willink. So I got to thinking about just some different concepts when it comes to discipline equals freedom. And as I was doing my, I guess you could call it a ruck yesterday with that kettlebell in my backpack, and I had Maverick with me, who's my 75-pound Pit Lab mix, and it kind of dawned on me that, discipline. I got thinking of the idea as a dog that has a collar on and a leash. Well, why is a dog typically on a leash with a collar with their owner? 9 times out of 10, it's because they're not disciplined enough to have that freedom of being off of the leash. They're not disciplined enough to stay with the owner, to not chase cars, to not bark at people, and that's the majority of dogs. There are dogs out there that are disciplined, but let's talk about the one that's not. So, you've got a dog that's on a collar, or on a leash with a collar. What are some of the reasons as to why? And I named a couple of those just a second ago. But the other thing to it is, what about the owner? So let's say you're the owner of a dog, and maybe you have a dog like me, and you are not allowing your dog off the leash. Well, is it his or her fault that you're not doing it? But you're the owner, right? So you know that you can train your dog, that you can do things and implement certain strategies and practices to help teach your dog how to be disciplined so that your dog can experience the freedom of being without a leash or a collar. Now, granted, there are areas where you have to have your dog collared, and that's just it. That's the law. That's the rules and regulations. That's how it is. So for my legalistic friends, there you go. I put that in there. But the bottom line is, in order for your dog to be disciplined and to have freedom, guess who has to be disciplined? You do. You have to be disciplined in order to have the freedom of having a dog that is disciplined. And I got to thinking about that as we were coming back on our ruck, and I was like, it's amazing how everything affects everything else or someone else or a situation. It shouldn't be rocket science. It shouldn't be a surprise to us, but it is, and it does. But if you are not disciplined in training your dog, in implementing certain practices and having a strategy and having a plan of action, your dog will never learn. You will never be able to have your dog off of that leash. So it really does affect everything that you do and the people around you. Think of your kids. If you are disciplined enough to instruct your children in a certain way so that they become disciplined, well, now you can give them more freedoms, and now they can have more freedoms. I mean, this stuff isn't, it's simple. And I a lot of times I'm listening to Jocko's podcast or I'm reading his book, and I'm like, this is common sense. It's common sense. And you're like, oh, it's super hard to be disciplined and yada, yada, yada. And it's just difficult. It's just difficult. It's not easy to do. You don't understand my situation. No, you're right. I don't understand your situation. And yes, there is some difficulty in becoming disciplined, but the caveat to that is the freedom you get to experience. And once you taste that freedom, it's like, oh, I could do this. I can be more disciplined. Today's the third day of working out. I can do another day. I can get to day 4. I can get to day 7. I can get to day 30. I can get and keep on going and going and going. And a lot of times we have to take those little steps in order to make those big strides. The reality is you can't make those big strides without little steps. You have to do that. You have to take those steps that are necessary in order to get those gains. So discipline. If you do not have discipline, you will not experience true freedom. You won't. If you are not disciplined at work, if you are not disciplined in your personal life, you will not be able to experience true freedom. If you're not disciplined in your relationships, if you are married and you're not disciplined in protecting the time that you have with your spouse, you will not be able to experience the freedoms that you otherwise would have. Everything from open and honest conversations about sensitive subjects that are very pertinent, such as finances, parenting, sex. I mean, things that really have a lot of weight in your relationship. If you don't have the discipline and take ownership, take responsibility for you, it will be very difficult to not only have discipline, but maintain any kind of discipline you have and get somewhere and be able to grow and build and develop that relationship with your spouse. And let's talk about your career. Let's talk about having discipline and how that equals freedom on the ambulance. Are you disciplined in your etiquette with your conversations with your patients? Are you disciplined with your attitude when you meet that nurse or that provider that you can't stand? Are you disciplined in how you are professional, in how you care for your patients? Do you make a point to do things the way that the protocol says to do them and stay within the guidelines? Or do you blatantly disregard what's there and put not only yourself at risk, but now you've put your company at risk? And you went from being an asset to a liability. You got to think about these things. Your actions will cause a ripple effect and affect people in ways that you may never have even thought about. And before you know it, you won't have the freedom to have a job. You won't have the freedom of having an income and being able to provide for your family in an effective way. You will lose that ability. You will lose the connections that you have if you are not disciplined in your life. It affects everything. So make a point today to be more disciplined in what you do. I mean, think about everything that you have contact with. Everything from your family to your employer to even the people that you drive around. I mean, think about that. How is your driving, your discipline with your driving affecting other people around you? You know, it brings to mind, like, if somebody cuts me off because they're road raging or just being reckless, or they just, they're on a one-track mind. Doesn't matter who's on the road. They're going to where they're going, and nobody else matters. And how their lack of discipline and their ability to actually drive with respect for other people on the road affected your day, and just how the stress level increased. That's why you look at people that have long urban commutes. Their stress level, their blood pressure. There's a lot of things that are increased, that are worse. So think about what you do, how you interact with the people you are around, and in each of those categories, ask yourself, am I truly disciplined in this? Am I truly honing my craft? Am I truly honing who I am? And I promise you that there is an area in your life that you are far from disciplined in. You need to rein that in. You need to say, okay, what do I need to do to correct this? What do I need to do to improve this? And get to it. Get after it. Be intentional with disciplining that area of your life. But don't stop there. Look at every aspect and strive to improve those areas and become disciplined. If you're single, discipline how you interact with your colleagues, how you interact when you go out with friends. Are you getting drunk all night just to do it again the next 3 or 4 days in your off time and then come back to work and it's, eat, sleep, repeat, eat, sleep, drink, repeat for that matter. So think about, even in your downtime, in your quote-unquote free time, how you're disciplined and how what you're doing in those times is affecting other people. And I've talked a lot about how it's affecting other people. How is it affecting you? How is it affecting your life, your health, your well-being, your ability to move forward and be motivated in what you're doing? Understanding your why in what you're doing. How is your lack of discipline affecting you and what you do and who you are? So go through this weekend and think about those areas of, am I really disciplined? And even if you say that you are, think about it. Are you truly disciplined in those areas? Call those areas into question and really put a magnifying glass on it and really inspect that. And if you think everything's good, ask a friend. Phone a friend. Ask a buddy. And somebody that's going to be truthful with you, not going to sugarcoat it, not going to, say, oh yeah, you're good, man. No, everything's fine. So get some honest conversations going with the people that tell you the truth and that love you and care about you, and improve who you are and what you do. I hope everybody's having a good week. I hope the last podcast, was impactful, and just to follow up, I'm doing well. The venture and the journey that I'm on is going well. It's not without hard work and a lot of self-examination, and that starts every single day. Because if you don't start every single day, you'll lose sight of what you're doing, and it'll just spiral out of control. But I appreciate the feedback. I got a couple different emails from some listeners, and I really appreciate that. It's hard to explain how that helps me continue to do what I do, because there's some days where it's like, is this stuff really getting out? And I've pulled away from all the Facebook likes and stuff like that, as far as like being an indicator of how well it was received or how well I'm doing. Now, I mean, if you want to hit like, that's great, but I'm not putting so much weight on that anymore as I used to. I've pared down. If you've seen some of my Facebook posts, I had over 1,800 friends on my personal Facebook account, and a lot of that was people that I connected with for, from getting into aeromedical and just EMS in general, and just people I met and stuff like that, and after just thinking about what was really important, I decided to pare that down to things. I'm like at 132 people or 134 people of family, and it's it's actually a little stress relieving. But if you were one of my friends that that I unfriended, oh my goodness, and the reasoning behind that was because I'm reserving that for family. So I would highly recommend, if you haven't already, follow my Motivated Medic page. I'm gonna, I put stuff on there almost every day, and so please follow me there. That'll be some insight into into me sharing stuff all things Motivated Medic, but also sharing other valuable resources and making some announcements. And speaking of announcements, you should know now, but the 911 Wellness Summit. Mark your calendars, October 9th and 10th in Chattanooga, Tennessee at the Golly Auditorium. Golly, like, Gomer Pyle, Golly, Golley, the Golly Auditorium. The cost is amazing. It's like $35. There's I think a couple $1 fee for just Eventbrite so they can get their stuff. But bottom line, it's under $40. Bring your spouse. This is geared towards first responders and military personnel. So if you are an EMT, paramedic, if you're a nurse in the ER, even if you're just a nurse, and not just a nurse, you know what I mean. If you're a nurse in any capacity and you work in healthcare, if you're in law enforcement, if you're a firefighter, if you're a dispatcher, please get your tickets. This is going to be amazing. We'll be releasing some speaker information in the coming weeks. We'll also do a call to speakers, or call for speakers. So if you're interested in speaking, it is geared towards mental health and wellness for first responders and military. So if you have something that you want to bring to the table, content you want to bring to the table, we will do a call for speakers, and you can submit your resume and things that we'll be requesting at that point. But the speaker lineup already is just, it's going to be excellent. And this is the first conference of this caliber, if you will, that's ever come to Chattanooga. So do not miss this opportunity. October 9th and 10th at the Gala Auditorium in Chattanooga, Tennessee. If you need any information, feel free to reach out to me, themotivatedmedic@gmail.com. You can message me on Facebook, whatever you need to do to get some info, and I'll be more than happy to provide that to you. You can also check out on Daniel Mills' website the 911 Buddy Check Project, and all the information's on there as well. So along with my website, but both Daniel and I have partnered up together to offer this to our local community, and it's going to be excellent. Food is going to be provided, so please come, get your tickets. I hope everybody's doing well. Stay safe this week. Be savvy. Be a motivated individual, a motivated medic. Go forward. Move forward. Make progress. Don't become sedentary. Don't become stagnant. Move forward. And until next time, this is the Motivated Medic signing out.
Yeah, do it. Do what you can do when you can do. Mama, I got your back when it's too hot to handle.